All right. Well, good morning, Rocky Hill Community Church Life Group facilitators. Christopher Scott here. Good morning. It is Saturday, May 16th, and today I'm continuing my series going through the Pentateuch, through the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the books of Moses. So today we're going to look at the book of Exodus, and then I'm going to be here on this live video for a little while after that introduction to Exodus in case you have any questions on your small groups or things like that, and we can chat about those today. So it's great to have you here. Let's talk about Exodus a little bit. So I'm in this series looking at the 5 books of the Pentateuch, or the Torah, or the books of Moses, right? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. And if you want to have a basic idea of each of these 5 books, you just follow the name of the book. For example, Genesis means beginnings, right? You ever seen the Terminator movies? The movie, as part of the series, Genesis talks about the start of the Terminator, okay? Genesis means beginnings. Exodus means exiting, right? Exodus means exiting. It comes from 2 Greek words, ek, which means out of, and then hodos, exodos. Hodos is way, road, or journey, right? They're exiting onto a way, exiting onto a journey. So that's what Exodus means. We know that Moses, we call these the 5 books of Moses. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Moses wrote all 5 of these books between the dates of 1446 and 1406. I'm going to place the date of the Exodus when the Israelites leave Egypt. I'm going to put that date in about 1446 before Christ. 1446 is the date that I'm going to talk about, that I take. There's other views out there, but that's the view that I look at. We'll talk about the date in a few minutes, but first I want to talk to you about the big idea of Exodus. Exodus is 40 chapters, a little bit shorter than Genesis, but it's still pretty big, 40 chapters. And if you're familiar with the Bible, you know that this is the story of the Israelites have been in Egypt for 400 years serving as their slaves. God speaks to Moses and tells Moses he's supposed to take his people out of Egypt and lead them to the promised land. So Moses goes to Egypt. He walks them out of Egypt. It's a long process to get there. They're in the desert. They have the golden calf up on Mount Sinai. On Mount Sinai, Moses gets the 10 Commandments. And then there's a lot of interesting things that go on. Not all of them good. It's riddled with problems that Moses went through. But you can sum up the big idea of Exodus and a lot of the Old Testament teaching to this one verse in Exodus 19:6. God tells the people, right? He's at Sinai revealing himself to the people. He says to the people of Israel, "And you will be my kingdom of priests, my holy nation. This is the message you must give to the people of Israel." So he's talking to Moses about what he wants him to tell the people of Israel. He wants them to be a kingdom of priests, a holy nation, unique and distinct and separate from all the other nations around there. And that's why God gives them this law, right? In the 5 books of Moses, the Pentateuch, there's 633 laws, 613 or 33. I think it's 613 if you count every specific one. 600 laws for the nation of Israel that they needed to follow. Did God do this because he wanted to be mean and restrictive and controlling? No, he did that because he loved the nation of Israel and he wanted them to be unique and distinct and separate. So he gives them all of these laws so that they would look different among all the other nations around them. So that they would look unique and separate and distinct among all the nations around them. So that there would be a difference that people could point to them and say, you know what, you're different. And there's various ways that they do that. One of them, that's more visible is circumcision, right? That God wanted his people to be circumcised. So if a man ever goes and he meets a woman from outside the Israelite community from a neighboring nation or town, and they go to have sex together, he gets naked and she says, dang, something is different. This isn't quite like it's supposed to be, right? That's the most, extreme example, but it is an example of how God wanted them to be unique and distinct and different, and he wanted other people to recognize it, okay? So Exodus 19:6, a foundational verse for the Pentateuch and for the whole Old Testament. Okay, so that's Exodus. The big idea. Another thing I want to share with you is the date of the book of Exodus. 1446 BC is what's called the biblical date of Exodus. And we know that based on 2 Kings 6:1. Okay, we're going to go to Kings. So that date of the Exodus, 1446, is based on 1 Kings 6:1. First Kings 6:1. So King David has passed away, and now Solomon is the king of Israel. 1 Kings 6:1 says, "It was mid-spring in the month of Ziv, during the 4th year of Solomon's reign, that he began to construct the temple of the Lord. This was 480 years after the people of Israel were rescued from their slavery in the land of Egypt." So 480 years later, after the nation of Israel was rescued from their slavery in Egypt. And that is the key verse that tells us when Israel left Egypt, because this is in 970 BC, roughly in there, give or take a little bit. And it's pretty easy to place the date of Solomon within the Old Testament because there's so much contemporary research and so much contemporary archaeology and dates and historical accounts that we know. So we can put this date with good certainty about when Solomon lived and what he did. And then based on this verse, we can backtrack 480 years to the date of the Exodus, okay? And so that's the date that I take, 446 BC. Some people will take a date a little bit later, in the 1200s, because they believe some of the archaeology and history of the neighboring nations around Israel supports that date better, but it doesn't necessarily line up with 1 Kings 6:1 correctly. So a lot of that depends on where you place your emphasis. Are you going to place your emphasis more on the biblical text and following it, what it says, or are you going to place more of your emphasis on the contemporary research done on the times that those people lived in? I place more of my emphasis on the Bible, but that's just me. So that's an introduction to Exodus. And remember, to get a big idea for each of these 5 books of the Pentateuch, just follow the name of the book. Genesis means beginning. Exodus means exiting, okay? Big idea. So if you have any questions on Exodus, you can leave a comment down there. I'd love to talk to you more about it. And I'm going to be here on this live video for a little while longer. If any of you are here and wanted to talk or ask questions, I didn't really receive any questions from LIFEGroup leaders this week to answer. So I'm just going to hang out here on the video. If you want to ask a question, you can, or join. And I would love to talk to you and help you and assist you in your small group. So I'm here to answer questions if you might have any, or comments related to life groups and our small group ministry. Good morning, Connie. It is nice to see you, Connie. So if you just joined, it's nice to see you. I'm here. I just did an introduction to the book of Exodus, Connie, and then I'm going to stay here on the video for another 10 minutes if people have questions about their life groups and their ministry. So I'm just hanging out. Good morning, Connie. Nice to see you too. While we're here, I'm here if you all have questions or if you wanted to type in a question you have, Connie, about Life Group Ministry. But while we're waiting, I wanted to share with you a great resource that you should have in your personal library. It's called the New Unger's Bible Dictionary. The New Unger's Bible Dictionary. This is something that I got after reading Chuck Swindoll's book, Searching the Scriptures. It's a Bible study methods book for every Christian to help them learn how to search the Scriptures. And he talked about this book in there. And I'm surprised that I had not come across it before. So I purchased it. It's a little expensive. It's $40. But this baby is a gem of great resources and help. So it's a Bible dictionary, which means if you have a question or need to do research, you just look it up, look up the word like you would an English dictionary, right? So for me, I'm thinking about the Exodus. I just go to E's Exodus, and then there's 3 articles in there about the date of the book of Exodus, the Exodus, in which way they went in the journey, and then the book of Exodus, right? It's got 4 or 5 pages on each of those, and it's got pictures and helps. So if you don't already have a Bible dictionary, you need to have one. Or there's other ones out there that are great too, which is fine. But this one is the Unger's Bible Dictionary that Chuck Swindoll recommended that I got. And I love it. I used to have the Tyndale Bible Dictionary by Tyndale Publishers, which was fine too, but I lost it in our apartment fire 5 or 6 years ago. And so I'd never bought another dictionary. But man, this baby, it's worth the $40. If you don't have one, you want to get one, or I can try to find one for you. You can get them online or a local bookstore where I work. Does it come in large print? I don't think so, Connie. It might, but as you can see, the print is pretty small, right? That way they can pack as much in there. So I don't think so in large print. I'm trying to think of a Bible dictionary I know of that's in large print. I don't know of one. I'm sure they're out there, but yeah, good Bible dictionary. It's good to have for your library when you have questions. You can probably get it on I know it's not preferred, but if you do an Amazon Kindle or buy it online, then you can make it. That's kind of the nice thing about digital copies now, is you can make them big print, as big as you want. So I'm not sure. Like on Logos Bible software, you can buy it on there and then you make it as big as you want. And if you need an article, you can just print it off. Yep. Yeah, Bible dictionaries, they're good to have. Like here, if you're confused about the Old Testament, they've got a chronology of the Old Testament right here for you. It's kind of cool, right there. Chronology of the Old Testament. So, and nowadays, in 2020, there's a lot of great study Bibles out there. And study Bibles have some of this information, but these were maybe more popular 30 or 40 years ago when study Bibles weren't that popular. It was cultural that we wanted a Bible with not much in it. We just wanted the text, and you really had to have a Bible dictionary. Now, study Bibles have some of what's in here. This just has more, if that makes sense. Yep, thanks for joining, Connie. It was nice to have you here. Have a good walk. It'll be a nice morning for it. So there's about 5 minutes left. We'll talk about, I'll be here if you you have any questions or anybody else joins. If you're just joining, I'm here answering any questions for another 5 minutes for our life group facilitators. Just here, I did a brief introduction to the book of Exodus earlier, and then I reviewed a Bible dictionary. It's good for people to have. And I'm just here hanging out if you have any questions. It looks like somebody joined, but I don't know who it is, obviously. So. While I'm waiting, I'm looking through a book. Which way? Purpose-Driven Church. I think it's backwards because I got the thing flipped, at least when I look at it. Purpose-Driven Church, Pastor Dave Welch gave me. I'm on page 231. Good book. It's a long sucker, though, 400 pages. But yeah, reading through it, learning, always learning and growing. Trying to figure out what I'm doing. So, got another 3 minutes that I'll be on here. All right, so it's 7 a.m. I'm going to end the call. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Life Group facilitators, for your ministry. Appreciate you working with people, loving people, and helping them learn God's Word and be disciples. So I'll catch you next Saturday for another call video, and we will continue our series. We'll look at Leviticus.